Welcome, everybody. Appreciate all the attention you give our program. Thanks for being here to your busy schedules. It means a lot. And I want to start by wishing all of our Minnesota high school coaches and student athletes a ton of success as they start the playoffs tonight. We're really looking forward to following all of you. Should be a really exciting playoff with a lot of elite teams this year and a lot of awesome matchups. So we're looking forward to that. Second, I want to thank Mortensen Construction. I got a chance to go through the Athletes Village yesterday and get the whole tour. And I hadn't had a tour for a while. And, I was, last time I was in there, the sheetrock wasn't even up, and it was just a lot of open spaces. It's starting to come together, and they don't get enough credit in terms of how hard they work. I think everybody just sees the progress, thinks it's beautiful, and the Athletes Village is a game changer, and it's because of all those workers out there every single day, and just truly appreciate their elite work, and it never goes unnoticed. So thank you so much for the commitment that you've made to our facility and to the University of Minnesota and our student athletes. And I know one day your work will be done here. You move on to another one, but the work you're doing is going to last a long time based on the results we get inside this program, on the field, off the field, and in recruiting. We're very happy to be 1-0 in our new season with the Illini. It was really good to win homecoming, and for past, present, future Gophers. We were very excited for that it came out on the 24-17 victory at the scoreboard. So really happy about that. I'm sure everybody had a great night and enjoyed themselves. But now we've got another challenge ahead of us. We get into rivalry week here. But I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and we're really excited about the opportunity we have. We're 0-0 the way we look at it, one-game seasons, and we've got to be way better this week than we were last week, and we have a lot of things to get better at. So I'll open up for questions.
TJ, what have you learned since you've been here from the fans and from your players about the Minnesota-Iowa rivalry?
Well, the great thing is I might not have a lot of ties to the state of Minnesota in terms of where I was from or where I've coached, but I did recruit it, right, when I was in my first years at Northern Illinois University. But I grew up in Big Ten country in Chicago, right? So I grew up in it. I got a chance to follow all the rivalries, and I always thought that was really neat. You know, I always used to play the video games too, and NCAA and those games, and you'd play for all the trophy games, and you educate yourself that way. But when you actually start to think about the history, of the Floyd of Rosedale and 1935 and how it originated and what it was made from, and the governors and the bet they had, and it's just very special. This is why you play in the Big Ten, and this is why you coach in the Big Ten. This is why you come to the University of Minnesota to play in all these historic rivalries. It's very important. It's the next game. And I never want our players to have to play so much better in one game because it's this game and then slough off in another game because it isn't a rivalry. You have to be able to keep the balance throughout the season of continue to change your best, continue to grow in all the fundamentals and details as a player, as a coach, and evolving through our culture and through our systems as well. But it's an honor. I'm really honored to be able to coach in this rivalry and represent our team, to be able to represent past, present, and future Gopher teams. But it means a lot. It really does. This is it really is a dream come true, to be honest with you, to be coaching in games like this. And it's going to be a heck of an environment at Kinnick Stadium. We know that. 5:30 kickoff. I don't know if you call that a night game or a midday game. I'm not sure what you call that with the 5:30 kickoff, but it'll be dark soon enough. I know that.
This team went from one of the most penalized teams in college football last year to one of the least penalized this year. Is that
our team? You're talking about our team, Chip? Okay.
Your team. Is there more punishment for penalties in practice, or how did you clean that up?
Well, punishment is not the word I would use. Discipline, I would use, yeah, absolutely. I think we're a very disciplined football team. I think we're a very disciplined culture. You're going to be held accountable for your actions in a good way and in a bad way, right? I mean, if you do something great and you get into one of your majors, we celebrate that in our team meeting. I mean, Jalen Waters, one of our linebackers, just got in his business marketing his degree, got into that school, so we celebrated that as a football team today. So all the accomplishments we're going to continue to celebrate, hold them accountable for our GPA and our grade point average to continue to go up, their life off the field continue to get better. We'll hold them accountable to doing all those things, that +3 mentality in all 4 areas. But also when you look at on-the-field discipline, I think there's so many examples that are throughout the country every week that we show our players, right, every Tuesday or every Sunday, of whether it's the NFL or whether it's college football, of people not being disciplined and how it costs them. It's not just don't do this. That's what this program's about, not a bunch of don'ts. It's here's why we educate you to do this instead of this. And then we show them reasons and back up that with, there's a lot of things that you saw with the middle fingers here and middle fingers there and during the game. And we do everything we can to teach our players, don't let the circumstance dictate your behavior. It's a very emotional game, but you've got to be able to direct your energy towards the things that are really important. And playing the game the right way, focusing on your teammates, celebrating with your teammates, not letting the outside noise affect you, but being strong enough to hold on to the core values of the culture and continue to be an example of that. So we take pride in that. I think we're playing on the edge. We're playing hungry, we're playing disciplined, and I'm proud of that.
How about Demry Croft? How do you make sure he grows every week, not put too much on his plate, give him enough that he can grow in confidence?
Yeah, Mike, I think that was my fault last week. I think maybe I took for granted the 10 minutes that he played at Michigan State, like we all did. We all went in there and go, holy cow. And I think every single one of you said, hey, Demry should be starting next week. I think that everybody kind of had that type of thought. And maybe and again, it falls back on me. Everything in this program falls back on me. And when a kid doesn't have success in his first true start, I take that personally, and I've got to be better at getting him prepared. We might have to do some other things and keep a tighter game plan. Even then, we might have thought it was tightest. Maybe even got a little bit, become even a little bit tighter of what he can do, what he's not able to do yet, what he's comfortable with. I guess it's not really what he can and can't do. He can do a lot. He's very talented, but what is he comfortable doing in terms of his first start, first year playing, and having the ability to be the guy. So I thought we've done a tremendous job of that this week. Coach Shiraka, who's just every week just continues to make better game plans based on the strength of our football team. Year one at Western Michigan, we were able to do certain things, and we were able to do weren't able to do certain things based on the type of team you have. By year 4, we were doing everything we've ever dreamed of wanting to do with our system. So it comes in stages, and it really depends on the development of your quarterback. And, we have had now 2 quarterbacks play. But, again, you just don't give up on somebody just because they made a few mistakes. Those mistakes go on me. I've got to be better and put him in better situations and more successful situations as a coach and continue to develop him every day. And promoting success, getting him to do successful things and eliminating those weaknesses once he shows maybe that's not what he's strong at right now. Because there's not a lot of time to get that better. There's not an off season tomorrow. We still got games to play, so we've got to be able to take that and run with it.
There was some news today about a former commit to the Gophers in 2016 who passed away, who has ties to a bunch of players in that class. Do you know of that, and do you plan to talk to the team about it or help them out in any way?
Oh, absolutely. What we'll do is I'm going to gather more information about it, and absolutely, one thing about this is anytime you lose a student athlete at some point, it's very tragic, and it affects people in different ways. Whether it's John Celestine's father or whether it's Ray's cousin or Ray's best friend or Chris Bell's best friend who were all killed. And I can go on. All of our players have something that affects them that way. But when it's in-house at some point, whether Al's here or not here, you have to make sure that you are very compassionate towards all their needs, and we'll definitely be on that. And as I continue to gain more information on it, just like you, it's pretty new. So I want to be able to gain all the information I can on that. But I will say this. Our thoughts, prayers, hearts go out to the families, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as I gather more information, but it's what I know at this time.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, Chip.
Asked you about the running back rotation after a game. How do you balance, you got certain plays that you want to get the ball to Rodney or Shannon versus just kind of the flow of the game, and if a guy gets hot, you stick with him. How do you sort of balance that line?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure that, I think we have 3 really talented backs, and I'm not sure which one gets hotter and which one gets colder. I think they all play really well, and I think that it's up for us as a coaching staff to make sure that what their true strengths are and what plays they're really good at, that it just becomes second nature for them. They rarely struggle in the plays that they're really good at. But now the challenge is, all right, how are we going to get all 3 mixed within that? How are we able to get Demry his plays and Ty Johnson his plays without being able to just keep it all within our system, but be creative as we continue to move forward as well. That's what the fun of year one. You know your team, but you don't really know your team. You haven't had a ton of games and a ton of data where you figure out, okay, we're really good at this. We're rotating a lot of guys in. Our spring ball was very limited. we've had a lot of guys, you know, and done for the season, and we've had guys miss games. We've had guys just last week was Justice Harris' first game. So it's hard to see what everybody does really well and how it all meshes together. But you got to be really creative in terms of our strengths and our weaknesses and make sure we're exploiting and promoting our weakness or our strengths and eliminating those weaknesses, but being very creative, but also very simple at the same time. Because you've got very experienced backs and players that can handle a lot, but then you have very inexperienced quarterbacks who might not be able to handle as much. So it's that balance of both of doing everything you can to put them in the best position.
Action, is that getting the desired effect on the defense as you thought it would?
I think it does. You know, here's what it does, Chip, and it's not a secret. So, I mean, coaches do it all over the country. But what it does is it promotes the ability to get your Jimmy on their Joe, right? And if that's the guy to stop that guy. And if we feel our guy's better than that one guy to make that tackle in space, then we're going to do it a lot more. It pulls another person out of the box, so the inside zone and things like that open up. We've got a bunch of other things coming from that. We'll continue to evolve that type of plan. And that's not exactly what we thought we'd have to do in spring ball. We didn't even really work on a lot of that in spring ball. That was the evolution of what type of team we started to become in training camp, what type of skill set we had on the outside. And so it kind of evolves. And, but that's what you work on. So it kind of gets a safety in space with somebody else and gets one of our best players on one of their better tacklers and see if our guy can make him miss. And then it creates a lot of movement in the backfield. It's as close to an option as you can get without being option, I guess, because it simplifies things for us. We did a lot of different stuff off that. Yeah, we did that. Plus we did our fourth year at Western Michigan we were all over the place. I mean, there were all types of things going on. I mean, there was all types of movement and misdirections and bubbles and screens, and it was all over the place. But, again, we're going to do what this team is capable of doing at a high level where we can, have the most success we possibly can have and then eliminate the amount of weaknesses we can have, which obviously lead into turnovers or incompletions or guys not comfortable or sacks. We've got to eliminate negative plays. I mean, we're not deep enough or experienced enough to come back from 2nd and 18s a lot. I mean, that's especially the defenses we're going to be playing in the Big Ten.
Any temptation of using all three of those running backs at once in the formation?
Yeah, it's not as easy as just saying, we're going to throw them on the field and let them do those because defenses are smart too. It's not like Kobe McCreary is going to be, catching 8 go routes, as a wide receiver and getting off the line of scrimmage and working on a perfect tight break and drive in, drive out break point and speed cuts. And so it becomes a little bit about, okay, or if you put one more on, who do you take off? We've experimented a little bit with it this week. But again, how does it all fit? How does it change the picture? Because we want our guys to know where their guys are going to be. Now, Iowa's going to be where they're going to be. They're very I can't even I got to be careful how I explain them. They're very set in their ways, and they're very, very talented at it. It's very difficult to put a 12 to 14 play drive together and score 4 different times against Iowa. They've done what they've done for so many years. Like I've said before, the biggest compliment I can give them about their culture is they've had 2 coaches in 40-some years. And the head coach now worked for the head coach prior. So, I mean, it's really one culture for almost a half a century, right? And we've had 6 head coaches in 11 years. Those are the things and 6 different systems. And you can go on and on about that. We've got to bring the same system, start to form our identities that way as we continue to go in the future. So we got to give them a lot of credit what they're doing.
What has Coonley showed you with his versatility to make an in-season position switch?
I would like to be able to say that's been by his choice, but it's not. It's our choice. We have no other choice. We've got to put him all over the place. One thing I'll say, though, I think he's playing at a very high level. One thing I'll say about Coonley is he cares. I mean, he cares. He's a senior who cares. He's played ball for us. Talk about a walk-on and scholarships and things like that. I mean, Coonley is just he's what the row the boat culture is all about. And he plays so hard. He's very selfless, to go from safety to corner and learn the techniques and do all those things and start the year as non-starter, and now you're the guy. And that's just what I said to the team beginning of the year. I said, we're going to need everybody, and Coonley is a prime example of that. Does all the right things off the field. He's a wonderful student. He's a tremendous teammate to his teammates. He's on the leadership. People really respect him, and I think he's stepped up in a big role for us. And I'm proud of his progress. I think if you talk to him, he's going to continue to see his progress continue to go and change his best, which I'd want him to. I want him to continue to play better. But thank goodness we have Coonley, as versatile as he is. And I thought he's done a nice job stepping into that role.
Did you ever three running backs that, that this team could play or go against where they each carried the ball 10 or 11 times a game? Or do you think that's almost impossible? Somebody has to carry it 20 at some point in time?
No, I wouldn't like. I mean, here's the one thing: when you have three, we've seen what happens when you carry it 25 times a game in this league, right? I mean, Rodney's been out, Shannon's been out, and if you only have one back you can count on, think of how many games we'd have be on the next back, or the third back by taking all those carries. We'd probably be on our fifth or sixth back by now. So to be able to have that, the challenge, and the one thing I love about them is they're selfless. But Kobe earned more reps. So that means those reps are going to be taken away a little bit from Rodney and Shannon to be able to keep them healthy as we make this stretch in the next 5 games. And that's what I want. I don't want to have to continue to have, okay, Shannon's out for 2 weeks and Rodney's out for 2 weeks. Kobe's been able to provide that, and we've got to be able to get Kobe more reps, and he'll have more reps this week.
Could Chenault and Keandre come back?
Secondary as a whole has handled just being so depleted with injuries and stuff.
Well, I think they've handled it very well. One thing I will say is I think Moe Linguish is one of the best defensive backs coach. I haven't been around a better defensive back coach in my career than Moe Linguish. I haven't, and that's all due respect. And maybe Greg Schiano would be one that I would say would be somebody who was my mentor. But besides him, I think Moe Linguish is somebody I respect a lot. Unbelievable recruiter, unbelievable relationship builder. And one thing I love about Moe is it doesn't matter who's out there, he coaches them all. Like they're the All-American, like they're the 5-star, like they're the All Big Ten Player of the Year. Coaches them all that way. Justice Harris wouldn't be where Justice Harris is to be ready to even play if it wasn't for Moe Linguish. He's so dedicated to teaching all of our players, and he does it with such energy and compassion and passion and purpose. He is we're blessed to have him here. We are at the University of Minnesota. We're blessed to have Coach Linguish, and I think all the DBs would say the same thing. He has a saying, because it's important. They all make fun of him. They talk about him all the time. They say, why? Because it's important. Everything's important to Moe Linguish, and I think when you look at our defensive backs, they're playing for him. And I've always said that if you can get players to play for their coaches, coaches to coach for their players, and you start to have that relationship where everybody's doing it for each other and not themselves, you have a team. And that's the difference between a group and a team, and we're meshing that all together. It's very difficult to do with how many people he's lost. We were thin to begin with. Talk about what happened in January and when we first got here and the suspensions, and that was mostly all the secondary that played last year. And now all of a sudden you had Chenault down, and you had, Antoine Winfield, your best player on defense, down, and you're thin to begin with as it is, and you're starting to look down that depth chart saying, oh, my goodness. Then you start talking about Kunle. Well, Kunle's played safety. He's played corner. Now he's the starter, and all he's done is gotten better. When you have guys that haven't played a lot and they step into starting roles and you don't miss a beat, now you might get beat on some things, or you might not, or you might miss something because you don't have the experience yet. That's one thing. But when you watch how hard those guys are playing, they're playing for Moe. They're playing for each other, and that's a compliment to our defensive back room.
You've seen from Thomas Weber from week 1 to now what he's doing week 7 and 8.
I think he's a completely different person in a good way. I'm not saying he was bad before. He was a phenomenal person, but I think he's a completely different person. He's willing to take the responsibility on his shoulders. I think in week 1, week 2, he wasn't. He was looking for somebody else to do that. I think he's starting to own the defense a little bit more. The more players we can get to own the defense, and I mean that in the best way, is that I don't want just one guy to own the defense. I want it to be Thomas Barber's defense eventually, but then I want everybody else to say, well, this is my defense too. Year 4 at Western Michigan, we actually had leaders fighting with leaders to say, no, I'm the alpha leader. It takes a long time to get to that point. We just need one alpha leader to step in. And I think he's starting to develop that. He's not there yet, but he's starting to develop that. And I think he's starting to feel that in his role. But again, that's a lot of pressure and expectation for a first-year starter as a sophomore. But again, that's started learning. There's no greater time to learn about pressure and expectation than now.
Do you guys feel like you got better on the edge rushes as the Illinois game went on?
I did. I thought Carter Coughlin set the tone for us. I thought he really did. I think, Carter's really coming into his role out there. But again, you're only as good as your outside rushes as you are inside. I think Steven Richardson's playing at one of probably the best level he's played at in a long time. He might not have the numbers, but again, everybody knows who Steven Richardson is now. I'm not saying they didn't know about him before, but he had other people around him that have played a lot of football, right, that demanded a double team or a chip or a scrape. Maybe we don't have that yet, But again, so he's getting most of the double teams, and he's still productive. He's still productive in creating single matchups on the outside. And we're starting to take advantage of those things. But that's because of a Steven Richardson or the guys inside. But Steven's really playing well.
What do you do during practice? Do you go group to group? Is there an emphasis that you're always looking for, offense or defense? Or what do you try to get out of a practice person?
Coach everybody. Coach everybody and coach everywhere. And that's one of my goals when I go out to coach. It's not just, hey, I'm going to be with the wide receivers. You know, that's my specialty. The offense is what I've kind of known the best over the years and been with. But that allows me to be with the defense more because I can look from afar to see the offense, but be with the defense. But every drill, I'm coaching everybody. I'm around making sure that I do everything I can. I was taught as a young coach, if I ever became a head football coach, everybody on your team deserves to be coached by the head coach every day. Now, think about how hard that is, Mike, in terms of 125 kids. It's my job to talk to everybody during practice at some point. Now, I have the energy to do it, and I don't have a checklist that I'm going like this with, so I'm not sure if I'm 100% every day, but I'm pretty close. Everybody deserves it, and everybody wants to be coached until you get coached. This isn't just head coach coming over to shake your hand and just say hi and, wonderful job. We're coaching, but it's I take a lot of pride in that. I think everybody deserves to see the head coach everywhere. And so that's kind of what I do. And then I'm coaching the coaches. But I don't coach the coaches on the field. I think a lot of coaches, whether they're ripping a coach or whether they're ripping a coach in front of a player or whether they're, coaching a coach to do something, I think that looks like an organization. What I do is I keep notes of practice, everything I want to talk to. Our staff meeting is right after this meeting every day, every Tuesday. And I have a list of probably 50 notes from practice that I share with our staff of what I want changed or what I want to do or what drill I want ran or what I liked, what I didn't like, what we have to work as position groups, offense, defense, special teams. And those are notes for me to handle inside those doors with our coaches. But our job when our coaches are out there, man, I want them coaching. I want them coaching their position. They're the head coach of their position. So they should always have the respect and always have the eyes of their players and not have the coach butt in to do that. But I like coaching drills. I love to coach. Part about being the head coach at times is you're not the position coach anymore. That's the one thing I do miss since I've become a head coach. You're not the position coach anymore. And I'm not a micromanager, so I'm not like, hey, move over, Matt Simon. I got this. I would never embarrass him that way, and nor would I ever wanted to do that. That disables the ability to become the coach that he needs to be. Educate him in here, then allowing him to go coach that. I think that's my job now. And I've had to learn that over the years.
Profession and how fluid it is, and guys going and coming and to have a coach that's coached 20 years at the same spot, it seems almost unheard of anymore.
It's unheard of, but that's why they've had a lot of success over the years, and you can always count on Iowa always being in the mix. I mean, I know they're our rival, but I respect people's coaching job. Remember, I'm a coach, and I'm a fan of college football, and I love education. I love teaching. I love business. I love to watch how successful companies make it work. If you're changing your CEO every 2 years, I don't know many businesses that are successful when they do that. I don't. Same thing in football. Everybody changing their head football coach because the magic formula didn't work every year. I don't understand that. You look back to how things became traditional football. The Woody Hayes, the Bo Schembechlers, the Hayden Frys, they were there forever. Phil Fulmer at Tennessee, they were there forever. In this day and age, it's hard to get a program to win to where the expectations of people from the outside are in 2-3 years. It's hard. But the investment to be able to continue to do that and understand what's going on inside the program and the cultural sustainability of everybody being on the same page and always moving towards that goal. That's why Iowa's had a ton of success, had some average years, continue to do that, but stay with the plan. And that's what we continue to tell our players. Just continue to stay with the plan. Keep changing your best, keep rowing the boat. And that's why I continued our message to our fans. Just keep rowing the boat, keep your oar in the water. Remember, I'm the same guy who went 1-11. And the next year somehow our staff got named Coach of the Year. And we were the biggest schmucks in the world year one. And I've never really took a lot of value in what people think of me in terms of winning and losing. I want people to say he's making a difference. If people say he's not making a difference and he's a complete jerk to talk to, that would affect me. But in terms of the wins, they'll come. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about digging and building that culture that 20 years from now, Chip, if you're still doing what you're doing, I hope, right? I mean, you should be. He's going to set the bar pretty high, but you should be. And but if you're doing that, that's what Iowa has, and that's special. And I know they're our rival. I'm not supposed to say nice things about that or something. I'm not into that either. You give credit where credit's deserved, and that's why they were able to have that. And that's when I go back to recruiting and I go back to legacy. I mean, if you played at Iowa within the last 40 years, most of the time those dads and moms are sending their kids to Iowa no matter what. Why? Because their dad played for Hayden Fry, or their grandfather played for Hayden Fry, and their dad played for Kirk Ferentz, or so on and so forth, whatever it was. There's that legacy. Here we have, well, I'm this guy's guy, or I played for this coach, and I'm his guy, and I played for this coach, and I was in that era, and I was in this. And it's almost like it's like this, instead of everybody coming together, and that's what I want to bring here for our alum, and for the people in our past and present, and then our future Gophers, that we can create something for a long time. Again, I'm getting on my soapbox and I'm preaching again. I'm getting all your tweets. Stop talking. I get it. But that's our message, and that's what our message will always be, and that's why I came here.
We'll take one more. Mike.
Coach, for each of your running backs, each of your 3 running backs. Oh,
We can go. We go to. We go. I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
Each of your 3 running backs, just what individually do they bring to the team? Just each of the 3, Kobe, Shannon, and Rodney.
Consistency. As a whole. I think they're the solid rock and the solid foundation of our team. But I think individually, Rodney's got incredible vision. That 3rd and 5 run that he makes, I haven't seen many backs I've ever coached that can make that run. That 3rd and 5 that we go in and score, thank goodness, and he makes an incredible run based on his vision. I think Kobe runs behind his pads really well. For a big guy, he's got really, really good feet, and he finishes runs. He had 43 yards after contact, this past game, So he understands that. And then Shannon, I think, does a really nice job of going from speed to power. And he can go there quick. He's got a very, very quick acceleration, especially with the inside zone to hit that thing. This isn't, a ton of power schemes with us in terms of you got to be patient, wait for the pull. Or that inside zone, you get that thing. There's that double team, he hit it. So I think he does that really well, and he'll lower his shoulder and finish it. They all do a great job at finishing. They're all tough.
You're going to have your guys the wave at the end of the first quarter to the Children's Hospital down there. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, the first quarter wave at Iowa, first and foremost. I think, and this is a credit to them, I am who I am. I'm going to say what I'm going to say no matter what. So I'll say this, is I think that's my favorite tradition in college football. And I know it's just started. That is my favorite one. For them to be able to do that, that's special. Those are moments and memories fans, players, the children in that hospital are going to remember the rest of their lives. And some of those children in that hospital have a very, very short life left. I really look up to Iowa to do that. I mean, that's something I would love to do if it hung over our stadium. That's how you make a difference. That's why college football is really special, is for traditions like that. And we'll participate in that as well, and we look forward to it. And hopefully that rivalry will be able to create something special for all the children in that hospital. And I know that our players spend a lot of time at Masonic Children's Hospital every week, Wednesday or Thursday. And children are very important in our lives. And the Children's Hospital, no matter where it's been, has always been very important in our life as a Fleck family, and always will be. So we're very honored to partake in that tradition. And like I said, that's my favorite, and we've explained that to our kids, and we're really looking forward to doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. The votes, Go Gophers. Thanks a lot.
We'll have